Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft-related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today, I want to talk a little bit about my solitary witchcraft. And the reason I want to have a conversation about this is because, I did a video actually a very long time ago. Sorry, I just got my retightening, guys. My hair is it feels different. Anyway, I did a video a long time ago about solitary witchcraft as a trip, and I remember in that video, I still feel the way I felt in that video about people coming to you for wanting help, and you being the solitary, you kind of want that community, you want somebody, who wants to do this witchy thing with you. So it's pretty, you're kind of really geeked up and psyched that they're interested. And well, watch the video and you'll see. But anyway, that still applies, guys. That's still actually a real thing, and you still get excited when people are interested. I think for me, I'm a little less. I'm not so much how I was then, because probably this channel and I talk so much about different components. So I feel like I get to the capacity already where I get to share. So I'm not as it doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't matter as much, but it's not I don't get such a high from someone finally being interested in asking me a question. So thank you guys who subscribe, because you've helped, with that issue. But overall, how I basically do this solitary thing, and it still works for me after all these years, is that, one, have a defined path for myself of what it is that I practice, my spirituality or whatever. I don't practice a religion, and I don't refer to it that way. I realize other people might, and sometimes I correct you, sometimes I don't. It depends on, what the conversation is. It's not that big of a deal to me, because I know what you mean. People use words, sometimes they don't use it the right way or whatever. It's cool. It's fine. As long as we both, I have an idea of what you're talking about. And I know you're not trying to be offensive, but I consider what I do follow my spirituality, basically. I, over the years, have defined it more as cottage witchery, probably with a heavy nod toward Wicca, because that's how I started. I infuse other parts of my, from my ancestry and parts of the world that I know that I'm connected to. I infuse magics and spirituality from that into my path. My spirituality, that is. I'm sorry, I'm changing different words. So that's how my solitary witchcraft is done. That's how my spirituality in general is done. I know that it is not important for me to be a part of a overall group or someone else's spirituality. I think it's beautiful that people find what they find in other paths. I think that's a wonderful thing, but that's not for me. I don't want that level of structure, and honestly, to me, it still feels like dogma, and it reminds me more of the Abrahamic type religions, and this idea that you have to go through another person to do certain things. Like, you have to be initiated. Now, who's initiating you? Another person. You have to get certain readings, beforehand or afterwards or whatever, and that's a person. So I'm of the mind that I respect that, so I'm not coming for anybody who is all in on that. However, I tend to go more eclectic. It doesn't fit my personality, and I don't see that changing as I get older and a little bit more stuck in my ways. I don't see how that's going to change. I am not interested in doing that. What I am interested in my path is just learning. I don't mind observing. If people in the comments, someone will mention, oh, you should look at that or read this, or, I come across other things, and I actually go look like, that sounds interesting. Let me see what it is, I'll take it or leave it. It's not, there's always something new to learn, or, maybe even rediscover. So I'm perfectly okay with that. For me, a big part of my spirituality is just absorbing and gaining more knowledge. What am I doing with it? Some of it I actually put into practice. Other times I just file it away for just in case I need to reference it again. Or if I see patterns in my life, maybe I could go back and reference this thing that I learned about. I feel comfortable doing that and remaining a solitaire. I don't want to be under anybody. I like it the way that I do it. I like it, the pace. It's a strong possibility, that's loud. It's a strong possibility that if I had maybe been in a coven, or if I had felt led to be part of some spiritual, formal practice, and I'm speaking more, I guess, one of the African traditional spiritualities. If I had been led to that, then I guess I probably would have learned more sooner. Who's to say? I think the path that I'm on makes sense for me. So, a couple points that I wanted to point out. When I first started, this book was everything to me because I technically was Wiccan. So, this book was everything to me. Scott Cunningham, and I know a lot of people probably know this, but this is more than a decade ago when I went on this path, this is the original book that I had way back when. This is 2004 publishing. Yeah. So anyway, I got this, and it was something that I felt was, this was kind of a big deal to me at the time because, it talked about being a solitary practitioner. Everything else was always like, oh, your coven can do this and your coven can do that. And I could read those books, but it really didn't. I was reading about things, but I couldn't really partake or put anything into practice because I didn't have a coven. But anyway, one of the things that I realized stayed with me from this book was like my little Bible, so to speak, for a while there, was this. He says, don't shut out the physical world in favor of the spiritual or magical realms. For only through nature can we experience these realities. We are here on earth for a reason. Do, however, use ritual to expand your awareness so that you are truly at home with all creation. So, just that little blurb that I just read has influenced, I think, a lot of my spirituality in the path that I'm on staying grounded while still being open and receptive to, other realms and things like that. That's why I think for me, to address sometimes people, I've been asked before, usually people who don't practice, how do you know you're really on the ancestral plane, or how do or made contact with your ancestors? How do you know it's not something else, or, that sort of stuff? And part of it is because I'm firmly grounded on the current reality plane that I exist on now. I think that says something. Sometimes people who are on this path, you can come across a little flighty, little airhead, and they like to spout out facts and pronounce words that maybe the rest of us don't really understand. I don't know if it's another language. I don't know if you just created it. I don't know. But the point is, they kind of throw things at you, and to sound, I guess, a little bit more knowledgeable about whatever it is, and the reality of it is, you sound actually the opposite, because we're talking about what's happening right now. Like, how you're not schooling me on something if I have no idea what you're talking about. You have to go through the foundation, the basics, all that. But I'm about to go on a tangent. Let me pull it back. This basically resonates with me because I take my path in a way where it's like, okay, since it is me, and there is no, I guess the only accountability is me. So it's important that I'm constantly grounded by doing meditative type work. I do my own readings. I go back, I read. I try to do this thing where I sit quietly in my thoughts. I usually do this before I go to bed, and just whatever's popping up, pop up, and just let those thoughts run for a moment before I just shut it off. Because a lot of things come up in your subconscious. So I basically stay in tune with myself. Because I take these extra steps, reaching out, communicating outward, never feels like I'm going too far. I never feel like I'm lost, or that I'm having such a good time in this other, place, that I don't want to be back here on earth in our current realm. I don't feel that way, because there are good things here too. As they were saying, don't shut out the physical world. I think some of us, and I'm saying us, probably a lot of us solitary practitioners, you got to be very careful with doing that. Because we are so, alone in your practice, and you're setting your own rules and you're doing your own thing, which I think is fabulous. However, you have to make sure that you keep a balance of knowing, where you are, and there are positive and good things and things to be excited about here right now, as well, not just, when you travel to the astral realm or ancestral realm or wherever realms you're traveling to. It's okay you live here, and you need to make it nice here too, and find the joy and find the things that relax you or excite you right here as well. So part of my practice, being a solitary witch, is making sure I keep that balance. And I just kind of wanted to reference that, because I'm seeing some things, guys, lately with some people, and I just feel like there's this idea of some place is better, and that sounds real Abrahamic, because they kind of teach the same thing. There's always this better place, so you can endure whatever horrible things that might be occurring, because the goal is you'll get to this other place, and then you'll be okay, and that's fine if that's what you believe. But the problem with that is sometimes people needlessly subject themselves to suffering, and to not doing enough in their life, not taking enough chances, taking leaps in their life, because there's this promise of, well, when I die, it'll be, great, so I'll just deal with whatever is now, so I'll get it then. So no, live your life now. Where you're having an experience here, you were here for a reason. Live your life. So when I practice, I have no problem, and I used to, but once I kind of define this a little bit more, I have no problem switching on and off between, I guess, magical thinking and so forth. Prime example, when I'm in the kitchen cooking, or, when I'm making something, how, it's very simple, mundane, muggle-like work that I'm doing, chopping something up. And then, I realize that I want to make this something more, and I just do, and I say a few words over, let's say onions, I'm adding onions to something. We know onions are known for warding off sickness and evils, perhaps, protection, things like that. So up until that point, I may not realize I was going to do it, but it's such an automatic thing, kind of like if you sneeze and somebody says bless you, it just snaps in my head, and I'll just say a couple words as I do it and as I add it, and it's like I'll switch into this kind of what I like to call my meditative state for just a moment as I do it, and I really concentrate and I believe, and I always am thankful, grateful, and release. So I'll do that throughout, and then I'll go back to what I was doing, the next thing, and so forth. But I just move that way very easy. It's taken some time to do that. It's not a big grand production every time I do this or anything like that. And I also wanted to kind of bring that up, because I think that for some people it gets a little confusing. You read the books, you might watch some videos, and you're looking for this experience and you're not feeling anything. I was talking actually to someone recently, and they said they wanted to feel the feeling. They wanted to have a magical outlook, and they wanted all this to happen, but they said they were very, they look at the world in a more realistic way. I just had this conversation, and that they couldn't seem to connect. It just, whatever was supposed to happen just didn't happen, so they just stopped kind of pursuing it. And I think a lot of us need to be a little bit more honest, us being witches, a little bit more honest about how this thing goes, and how, yes, you need to believe, but why do you want to believe? And that's what I was kind of positioned back to them. Well, why would you even want to believe it? oh, because, and that has a lot to do with why you probably can't, why you're not buying into this whole witchy thing, right? It's probably because whatever, if when I ask you, that answer is to that question. So the person I was talking to didn't really have an answer, and we kind of ended it on, they would kind of think on that a little bit, because, in short, part of it was because it seemed cool, so you need a little bit more than it just seems cool. So anyway, or other people told them, and, they wanted to see what the fuss was about, that sort of thing. So just a general passing curiosity, but not a real calling. And that's okay, because I don't think this is everyone's calling. And that's where I differ from maybe some of the Abrahamic ways of thinking. I don't think everyone should necessarily do this. I'm not saying they can't. I just don't think everyone has to if you don't want to. It's, there's different paths for all of us, or not doing anything at all. That's cool too. And I don't think we should judge people either way for that. I don't do that. I have my issues with the Abrahamic faiths. I do personally, but not where I'm trying to push it on anybody else. The other thing I'd like to just talk about as far as my path is that I mix different things. I kind of said that a little bit earlier, but I kind of want to go a little deeper on this. I mix different, I guess, eclectic, right? So I'm an eclectic witch, and I don't care if if you're watching on this channel and you kind of feel like, oh, she's talking about this, but she's not initiated, or she's talking about that and she's really not this. Well, I'm still going to talk about it, and I'm still going to infuse it into my magic, because for whatever reason it resonated with me. I found whatever it is approachable, and I didn't get anything to tell me not to go into it further. And if I choose to share it because something made sense to me and I thought it could help someone else, because there's people who think like me out there too, us eclectic folk, and we're not trying to step on anyone's toes, or cultures, or take something that you think we shouldn't be taking, or messing around with. And listen, I totally get that, where you feel like, well, there are large groups of people who really revere this, and you shouldn't be messing around with that if you're not all in. And I totally respect it. I seriously do. And I get that. However, you're not the police of spirituality. Those groups or people who are part of that, or who think like that, you're allowed to feel that way. You are 100% right. You're not going to make the rest of us stop peeling back, looking, and wanting to explore, especially if we feel called. And that goes for some of us who are black and we see white people wanting to do like hoodoo and whatever else, or anything else for that matter. We can't stop them, guys. I know you feel some kind of way, and I can understand that, in the same way that even us, amongst some of us, just all of us, there are some people who feel like there's certain paths that are, you have to, whatever it is, you have to be brought in by somebody, and you basically can't be doing it on your own and taking pieces from it. And I think there's a lot of different paths where that could be said, and it's not just, amongst black people. Either way, the point is, I think that a lot of us just needs to kind of just low-key mind your own business a little bit. If I'm not hurting you and I'm not hurting anybody else on this channel, you will not get me forcing anything on anybody. You're not going to get me trying to push something I'm doing. I might get excited about something and talk a lot about it. But by no means am I trying to push you into something. Influence, I might, but push, no. And I'm not going to push you into anything, or create a sense of urgency that you have to do this thing, otherwise your life will be horrible. I'm not about that. And people who are like that, who constantly give warnings all the time, and or there's a shift coming, they talk like that all the time. Oh, there's a major shift, and you don't want to get left behind. Okay, so wait, pause. What if I'm left behind? What could you tell me what's supposed to happen? Usually you don't get a straight answer on that. You're not going to get that here. I don't think like that outside of this channel. So I would never share that type of talk here. That's not me. The last thing I just want to talk about, as far as me practicing as a solitary witch is that I wish that I still had more witches in person. It's really tough now with COVID-19 even think about meeting with people, but I think I'm at the point now, and I wasn't. There are videos that I've done before where I said I didn't really care either way, and I think I've evolved a little bit more, and I kind of do care. I kind of do want, it's not that even that I want people to practice with, that would be exciting, by the way. It's more that I want, you don't even have to believe everything I believe on the way that I do it. You could be something else altogether, you know, as long as you're under the pagan umbrella, basically, you know, you don't have to call yourself a witch, although that would be really awesome too. Just someone of like mind who, you know, to talk with. And I think you guys know, as a solitary, it's so difficult sometimes when you meet new people. And unfortunately, I'm always in a position where I'm having to make new friends because I haven't lived in one place more than 3.5 years at a time. So I feel like I'm always renewing and making new friends. When you do that, it's like, you know, I'm nice, I'm never phony, I'm not fake, but I'm holding back. I'll be honest, I'm holding back. And that gets super exhausting doing that repeatedly. And for real, the older I get, I don't feel like doing it. So it's either I'm not going to talk, and I have a husband who is very outgoing, and if he met you, you're his friend. His definition of friend, it's like, to me, on the level of like how the kids are, like everybody's your friend. And I'm like, well, they're people you know, they're not your friend. And he looks at me like I got two heads, like, wait, why are you differentiating that? Like, if you know them and you talk, they're your friend. What's the problem? I work a little different. It's a little bit more intimate for me to be like, oh, that's my friend. That's my neighbor. That's the lady I know at the store. That's the girl that does my hair. I didn't say you were my friend, but that's just me. That's something clearly I need to work on per him. But I don't know. I'm a little bit more guarded. I think it's the Jersey in me. But ultimately, yeah, I want that connection, not just with one really, you know, friend who happens to be a witch, like a group. The coven thing, I don't know. And when I think of covens, and maybe that's just me, and you guys can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, this is how I think about it, because I've been practicing as a solitary witch the entire time. I think a coven, I know there's more structured or organized ones, but when I think of the idea of me in a coven, if I ever do that, I'm thinking it's like more like a group of people who we kind of all are connected on this path together, and we're all doing magic together for the purpose of raising energy and, you know, to be wielded for, you know, either the collective as a group or, you know, for individual things. I think of it kind of almost like a support group type thing, where if I'm going through something, you know, kind of like I guess how church people groups are, where, you know, you're going through something and they come in and, you know, like in a church, they will come in and pray over you. Like maybe they'll do healing spells for you. That's how I think. I could be way wrong. Maybe I read one too many books on this. Like I said, I never put into practice because I never had an opportunity. But y'all let me know if I'm crazy about this coven thing, if that's how it works. If you personally, I would love to know if somebody has actually had an opportunity to partake in a coven. That's the whole other thing. I think part of me is just nosy enough to get involved, but I really don't have a real calling on it. It's an experience that I'm kind of curious about. But enough about me rattling on about that. Just take this away from this video, and I did this to kind of speak to the rest of us out there who are kind of like this. Define your path, know who you are as a witch, because that way you're never rattled when others, or other people, even other witches, come at you about, you know, you're not supposed to be doing this, or you can't, you know, do this, or you should be doing this, or you're not a real witch if you don't do that. Be secure in who you are, at whatever level, so to speak, that you are, or where you are in your path. You know, just be secure where you are now. And it's like, okay, well, I've been doing this for about a month, and I feel pretty solid about what I'm doing. And then you get somebody else, and they're like, oh, you need to do this, and you got to add this, because if you mess with those spirits, this will happen. Oh, okay, well, you haven't had that experience. You weren't even planning on doing the thing they're warning you about. Or if you were, you felt pretty confident that you had it together. Do your thing. Do your thing. Listen, sometimes I think a lot of us, you know, I don't know, are we trying to scare people? I try not to. And if I am, I apologize if I've ever done that in a video of, you know, like spooking people about what to do or what not to do. Instead, I would just say, if you feel confident, just go with it, because it's your path. It's the way you do it. It's not what I say or anybody else says or what we read in a book. Just, you know, feel confident. So know yourself, know thyself. That's what I would say as a witch. Know thyself. And honestly, I know it sounds corny, but everything else will fall in line. However it's supposed to be, the mishaps and all. So yeah, that's what I got on me and my solitary witchcraft. So thank you again for watching. I am Mika. This is Leap Taken. And go ahead and please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share if you don't mind. And again, if you've already subscribed, thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. Low-key, this is like my own little coven in my mind when I come here and people comment and we talk. Even people who don't necessarily agree with me, I'm still like cool with that, because it's like, at least, you know, I don't know, I connected with you in some way. I don't know. I've been alone in this house for too long. All right, thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.